everyone, my name is Darius, and you're watching another episode of Your Perspective. Tonight's guest is the fashionable, very outgoing, and extremely funny Naoka Fanning.
Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, thank you
I,
for being a guest on the show.
absolutely. I appreciate you for having me.
Of course, and do you mind giving a brief introduction about yourself?
Absolutely not. Well, as Darius stated, my name is Naoka. I'm born and raised here in Columbia, South Carolina. I am currently an active doula and also an author, now author.
No, no,
And it
that's
kind of
right.
touches kind of touches on what we're going to talk about tonight, but I guess we'll get into how I ended up starting that journal. I am a mother of one. Um And that's about it. Like I said, just trying to get my business up and going, more clients for my doula business. But overall, that's just a brief introduction. I love to talk. Okay. So I was happy that Darius invited me on this podcast. So I appreciate you.
Of course, and you forgot that your son's a Scorpio like I am, so
Yes, Lord.
don't do that. And
Yes, yes.
for those who may
Yes,
not know,
it's a lot to deal with, but I would not change it for the
don't
world.
do
Okay.
us. Do not do this. And for those who may not know, Nyoko is my very talented barber in
Yes,
Columbia, South Carolina. But now she's one of my good friends.
absolutely.
Naoko has always been in my life for like 6 years now, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes. And like you've always been like there for me, even at my lowest. So again, like thank you for doing the show for me. It means a lot.
Made me cry. You don't make
Stop.
me cry before we even get
Stop.
started.
So tonight we're gonna be discussing is mental health overlooked in the African American community. And I feel like this topic is gonna be like controversial because the viewers may have like a different perspective or
Right.
standpoints, and which is like it's a good thing and like not a bad thing. So that's why this like topic needs to be talked about, especially from like people like us. So with that being said, we're gonna start with our first question of the night. Do
Mhm.
you believe mental health is overlooked in our community?
I absolutely believe mental health is overlooked in the African American community, and I think primarily it's because even growing up as children, we're always programmed for the most part to not be as open, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even growing up, we're told to stay in a child's place and
Right.
things of that. For me, I think like a lot of stuff is swept up under the rug, right? When your kids come to you or they're acting out a certain way, the first thing Black people,
Yeah.
Black parents just reach for the belt, like, get your shit together, you know what I'm saying? But it shouldn't be that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to break that cycle with my son as far as just being there as a parent
Mm-hmm.
and allowing him to express himself, because I feel like a lot of times as children we weren't allowed to do that,
No.
so in a sense, with not it also taught us not to create like healthy boundaries with people too.
Mm-hmm.
So when it all boils down to mental health, it is one of those things, like I feel like it does affect us in the long run because we end up in situations that we shouldn't end up in because we were taught to just, oh, that's family, you stick it out. But sometimes family oversteps boundaries
Boundary.
too. And so I do feel like if growing up we had that open dialogue with our parents, a lot of us wouldn't be going through the mental health issues that we're going through. I guess our parents do the best that they can, but for the most part, at some point, someone has to break the cycle. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely believe it's overlooked. Definitely believe it's
Yes. Because I agree, and like you said, I feel like it's also frowned upon in our community, and I feel like of course, it comes from like like on the medical systems, people not like we have a little access to culturally qualified mental health providers,
hmm
and like the thought of seeking help for mental health issues is a sign of weakness, especially for like black men,
hmm
and also to a big numbers like racism and like oppression that comes from it as well.
Right.
And like we've been fighting this, I would say this fight for like many generations and many years, and like nothing has seemed to change.
And I think, especially for Black men, it's so extreme for Black women too. But I think, like, if we're thinking about like just getting everybody on the same page, like Black men are so powerful. And I think like if they have just been taught to just embrace who they are, you know what I'm saying, without judgment, without,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, because all of those things that typically are instilled in Black men is all they know sometimes. And I feel like once you're programmed to be a certain type of way,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to shift that.
Right.
So I think it's definitely overlooked. But like I said, as I date and I speak to men, it's like, a lot of them aren't asked certain questions just about them in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for a lot of them, certain questions are triggers. And I feel like, I remember going out on a date with this guy, and I was asking him just stuff in general about his childhood and things like that. And he literally started crying. He was like, I've never addressed those issues. Like, I've
Oh
never
wow.
talked to anyone about those issues. So he was like, these are things that I'm going to now have to go back and think about before I actually get in a relationship with
Mm-hmm.
somebody, you know?
Right.
And so for me, it was like, dang, like, do you know how many black men are just walking around holding everything in that they
Yeah,
went
mm-hmm.
through as a child, you know? So yeah, I do feel like it's time for us to kind of sway away from it being a weakness and really like take ownership of whatever it is that we're going through so that we can
Mm-hmm.
grow and heal.
Right. So my next question next is how do you think we can improve mental health like outcomes in the African American community?
I think right now it's about building a village, and surrounding yourself with people that are okay with you being you and your authentic self. I think a lot of people are going through mental health issues because they have a persona to put on or a front to put on. And so you can only do that stuff for so
So long.
long. Before you like break down because that's really not who you are. And so I think right now is building a village and finding your safe space, finding those people that aren't judgmental, like you can come to and you can cry as a black
Right.
man, as a black woman, when you know what I'm saying? Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to find your village. And so I think for the most part, definitely seeking out a certified therapist is
Mm-hmm.
A1. But outside of that therapist, you're going to need that support system outside of that. So I always tell people find your village. And if you have to be by self or with self for a minute until you find like a really good solid village, I suggest you do that.
Right. Because when was it? I want to say 2022. I did like a TED talk, quote unquote, for like suicide prevention, and then like I discussed that like suicide is highly among like black men. Because like I said, like they don't talk about their issues, they're dealing with, and I feel like it's a phenomenon that like needs to be dealt with like as soon as possible because like I feel like it's rising up as we speak.
And if you pay attention right now, I just feel like again, just from dating, I'm noticing that there are a lot of black men that haven't dealt with maybe issues that they've had with their mother. And that within itself, outside of the father issues, the mother is the nurturer. So those men that lack any type of relationship with their mother, those are the ones that I'm running into the most. And those are the ones that I'm just like, gosh, if you just only could see like your power and understand what you could be doing once you decide that, hey, I gotta acknowledge this first because right now you're only set out to hurt any woman that cross your path. So you got to figure that out. But I really do feel like as black men, we are going to see a rise in suicide just because right now it is so much pressure. Just look at the economy. The economy is going down, and if for those that are just programmed to be providers and nothing else outside of that, they're going to have to figure it out because if not,
Hmm.
it's going to be a lot on their back.
Right, and then going what you said earlier about you said you're writing a book.
Mhm.
Want to discuss about that?
Yeah, so the name of it, well, is Who is a journal actually.
I know
So
that's right.
it's so it's a trauma journal and it helps it's called Who Knew Through Healing I Would Endure So Much Hurt. And so basically what the journal does, and it can be purchased on Amazon, but basically what the journal does is it walks you through like the very beginning of your childhood. It asks questions so you can kind of dig deeper. Like one of the questions is like how did my relationship, good, bad, or indifferent with my parents affect my relationships that I'm currently in
Hmm.
or relationships so it just kind of walks you through like different questions to break down like maybe why you're triggered by certain things that people are doing to you or why you may still feel so strongly about certain things. So I kind of developed this as I was going through my healing phase. And so I was just like, gosh, like as I was going through my journal, I was like, maybe other people need this.
Yeah, we do.
So I just figured, like, again, I'm not a therapist, but I do feel like, outside of therapy, like journaling was my outlet.
Hmm.
So, that's another thing, just trying to find those outlets where that's for you. Everybody might not be a
Yeah,
writer, but it may be something else you can find that kind of be like, okay, this puts me at ease when I do this. So, but yeah.
I like that. And is it already released on Amazon yet?
It is on Amazon, and so it's about 50 pages, but
Okay,
it spaces in there where you can write your like your self-reflection notes and stuff like
I know
that.
that's right.
And and then at the back, I also left space for like people to write like their affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
I put a few in there, but it's just a way for people to just open up and
And be
vent
vulnerable, right?
and be vulnerable with themselves, because that's where it starts first.
Yes, I like that. And congratulations.
You.
Okay, author.
I appreciate.
And my other question is, what can someone do, to make sure they feel respected and seen by their let's say, I went to the doctor for my mental health. What should I ask the doctor before going before being seen by the doctor to feel respected and seen?
For your mental health, I think for me, when I started seeing my therapist and even working in like a psychiatrist's office, for me, I had to write down like what it was that I really wanted to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you go in, of course, you're going to be asked all kind of questions, and then everything is flowing out so fast, and it's a lot to process.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, because I am all over the place 90% of the time, just in general, I had to write down what it was that I wanted to accomplish just in that setting, like just in that sitting. So
Mm-hmm.
if it was something focusing on my mother or my father, or how I was treated as a child, I just wrote it down because, again, going to those sessions, of course it is their job to find out ways to heal or help you,
Mm-hmm.
but it also helps if you know kind of like where you want to go, or how, or what you need to address first, and then kind of go from there.
Right. And guess what? I did therapy. I went. Yeah, I
How
went.
did you like it?
It was. I really enjoyed it. So, what I did was me and my husband we did it together, couple therapy. Then we did it like
Okay.
separate. And
And not to get on you, but I'm gonna let you go ahead because you did not.
I enjoyed it. Let me see her. I forgot her name, but like she was very she was black too. Like she was very she saw both perspectives. She didn't pick sides, and like she got to the nitty gritty, and I enjoyed it.
Good. And I think that's important too, to have someone that's actually from the outside, because a lot of times we bring friends and family in that
Our
aren't
bias.
right. They're extremely biased, and it's like you're not really getting the help that you need.
You're
So
right.
I'm glad y'all going to couples therapy,
Thank
because
you.
that's my thing. When I do find that person, that's going to be a
Hmm.
must. We have to go to couples therapy, like before we get married. Like I want that. I want somebody that's open to therapy. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? That's going to be the kind of the thing that's kind of like hard. Like you said, again, a lot of black men don't want to go to
Yeah.
therapy. Yeah, but baby, that's a requirement
Make
for
make
you.
it an automatum.
Yeah.
Because it helped.
Yeah, so I think it's good because it's like, not only are we getting another person's perspective, but you get to see and hear like maybe how you're moving is not what as good as you
So,
think it is.
yeah.
Because coming from your partner, it's like, everybody's defense is up.
Yeah.
But when somebody else can actually sit back like, whoa, like you were out of pocket for that,
Hmm.
it just makes it a lot easier.
Right. It
Yeah.
really did. And my last question of the night is, do you blame the older generation for any wrongdoing for how they view mental health?
I can't necessarily say I blame them. What I will say is I blame them for not taking a step in breaking those generational curses.
Right.
Because again, like even with my mom and my parents, they only know what they know, right? And they didn't try to change that. Well, my mama did it like this and my daddy did it like this and it worked for us.
Hmm.
That might not work for me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because like I said, again, I'm in a place right now where even with my son, sometimes people probably hear us talking. They're like, is that her brother or her child? But I allow him to be who he is because people just say they're children. No, they're
They're
many
they're
us.
human. Yeah. They have
You know
emotions
what
too and
I'm saying?
experiences.
Exactly. So I tell my son, as long as he's respectful about his delivery, I don't care what you get off your chest. And I'm also teaching him, like, if people make you feel uncomfortable, whether they're adult or not, it's okay to say
Speak.
no.
Yeah. Speak up about it.
Absolutely. So I won't say I blame them because a lot of them just either were stuck in their ways or did
Yeah. I
not know
didn't know no
how.
better. Right.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as taking the step and the initiative to change it, it irks me that some of them didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like with me, it's a different parenting style. I don't have, CJ have his moments because he's a Scorpio.
Yeah. Don't do it.
But outside of that, he's a really good kid, and I think that comes from him being able to, because you don't know what's going on in school with these kids,
Mm-mm.
and the more you teach them to just hold stuff in,
The worst it can get. Yeah.
the worse it can get. And so, yeah, so I won't say I blame them, but I do wish that. maybe, further back down the line, someone would have been like, nah, we're not about to do that like
Yeah.
that.
So my mom raised me the same way, like how you raise CJ to like speak your mind respectfully, because you know how Linda is. Because I mean that's another topic, but Lord have mercy. Just the Aries for you. That's the Aries. Oh, my mom is something else.
But yeah, so well, how do you feel about it? Do you wish, like, do you hold anything against them? Or, well, your mom, like you said, was able to allow you to express yourself,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure like how it was with like your grandparents and stuff like that.
Well, see, I never met my grandma. So,
Okay.
yes, I never really got that like dialogue with her. My granddad, he had Alzheimer's, so like we didn't really have like that kind of relationship. But like with my parents, I would say I did use a whole like a lot of stuff in with them, because like my
Hmm.
mom still thinks like I would say now she got a lot better, and like not to bash her, because I'm not like mental health. Like she doesn't see it as like how we see it now. She'll be
Hmm.
like, I can call her and be like, I'm stressed. She'll be like, what's going on? And be like, get over it, or like like pray.
Right.
So I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, like
So like
that, and
now,
that
yeah.
that pray and get over it. It's kind of like one of those. My mama the same way. Like she might listen, but she would, baby, just pray
Yeah.
about it. Like it's like, girl,
Yeah.
help me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hate you. Oh, I hate you.
It's like, because in my mind, like prayer, we can pray all day, like we really can. But the thing that I also encourage people is like, a lot of people just want to pray and leave it at that, baby. You still got to do the
Be
work.
some,
You know
yeah,
what I'm
something
saying?
gotta get, yeah.
But sometimes you get tired.
I yes. The feeling. Oh, no, the feeling.
But yeah, so yeah, it's just one of those things, and again, like even just thinking about like around surrounding the church dynamic, like we're really not taught to really express ourselves, you know what
Mm-mm.
I'm saying? And so it's like, my grandma was in the church 7 days out the week. If it was 8 days, she'd be there.
But,
But it's just one of those things. It's just like, even the church, I just feel kind of silences you a little bit,
yeah.
just in general. Like there's certain things that you can't talk about, and deem, disrespectful or whatever.
Right.
So it's a lot surrounding the Black community that just kind of puts a halt on
Yeah.
just people being who they supposed to be.
Just that stigma we go through.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but before we end tonight's episode, are there any final thoughts you want to say?
No, I appreciate you inviting me though. Like I enjoyed this.
Of course. Of
We
course.
must do it again. I gotta reach
Yes.
out to you, but I really do thank you. I think this is a topic that definitely needs to be talked more about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we address it enough.
No, we
I
don't.
don't. I don't. So I'm always open to any topics when it comes to health, like healing and mental
Mm-hmm.
health and things like that. So just keep me in mind.
Of course I will. Well, this has been by far the most thrilling episode of film, and thank you again for doing the show.
You're welcome. I
Of
hope to see you
course.
guys soon.
All right, and thank you everyone for tuning in to your perspective. Have a good night.